All right. Hello, hello. Welcome back. The double feature, if you're watching on Twitch at least, because I leave for SGDQ. So, gotta make the YouTube uploads consistent. Very important. Anyway, we have username of the century here today. So, tell the class about yourself.
Yeah, I'm Jimmy Poopins, kind of known for Ninja Gaiden 2 speedrunning in the speedrunning community. Um, yeah, I'm a professor of statistics, and yeah, I've been doing speedrunning for quite a while, doing a lot of other gaming too. Um, but that's my intro.
Well, there we go. Let's see here. Just making sure everything's working. Been having some OBS troubles recently, but hopefully all is good. Anyway, well, you've been around a while, sounds like, so let's start at the beginning.
Yeah, in terms of like getting into speedrunning or like paying attention to that scene. I've just always liked games, like retro games, video games. So some of my like early memories of that was watching like SDA forums or like Speed Demos Archives videos from a while back, watching Super Mario 64 or Quake or whatever. Um, and so I remember when I was in like high school, I watched I think it was Link to the Past speed run, and just tried to replicate it, like no practice or anything. And I just powered up my SNES and tried to replicate it, and it was pretty bad, but I at least got some like neat little tricks and stuff there that I remembered. Um, so it's something that was kind of like always on my radar. And then when like Twitch and Justin TV came out, I was watching a lot of Link to the Past and Super Metroid and stuff like that. And that was when speedrunning, at least streaming it, was like really at its infancy. So there just weren't very many people doing it at all. And it was like, oh, someone's streaming this game now. I want to see what that stream looks like. Because like nowadays you can find anyone streaming any game. But then it was like, oh, someone's finally streaming Ninja Gaiden for the first time. So let's see what that's like. Um, and so yeah, I ended up watching Sinister One, uh, Duck Fist, um, just some of the old runners. There's some other names. Um, Man, what is his name? Josh. Uh, his name's gonna come to my tongue. He's an old Batman speedrunner. But yeah, Batman was fun to watch. But ended up getting into that, watching that. I wasn't playing at this time. And the thing that really kind of sparked me playing was actually watching one of the races at AGDQ. I want to say it was like 2011, 2010, even maybe even before that. But it was between Sinister One and Duck Fist, and it was for Ninja Gaiden 2. And it was just like so cool. It was so exciting to watch. It was one of my favorite games when I was younger. Um, and like while it looked like cool and fast and challenging, part of me was also like, I think I can do that. So shortly thereafter, I hooked up my Nintendo and started getting that going and try to get some times. None of them were very good. It took me a while, and ended up stopping for um, after I don't know, maybe 6 months or a year of playing. Um, but that's how I got into it, and yeah, that was probably around 2010, 2011 or so.
So the first main game was Ninja Gaiden 2.
Yeah, so that was the game that like I first streamed, first set up, like splits for stuff like that. They had weekly races. So there used to be weekly races for Ninja Gaiden 1, and this was where a lot of the old names. Oh, the name came back to me. Josh the Funk Doc. Josh the Funk Doc is an awesome guy from the old days. He mostly ran Batman. There was actually a big rivalry between him and Sinister One um, on Batman. Uh, but he did a lot of stuff. Sorry, going off on a tangent here, but when I was doing Ninja Gaiden 2 grinding, I was looking at old TASes to pick up ideas, and he actually did some TASes for that, like some of the real old TASes. So he yeah, he's pretty influential. I remember one time I even asked him in his chat, and this was back around when I watched that race. I was like, "What? How do I get into speed running?" He was like, "Just do it." So, and it's really as easy as that. You just sit down and get
Nothing's
started.
changed.
Yeah, right. But that was kind of like the catalyst in me actually getting started on that. Um, but yeah, the Ninja Gaiden 2 races, they were every week, and it was Duckfist, Sinister One, Arcus. Actually, I knew Arcus way back then. Um,
Orcus, you mean?
Arcus, yeah, Arcus, the cowboy Ninja Gaiden streamer.
You would have known him
Um,
before, the persona though, right?
uh, yeah, well,
He calls it Orcus, I think. I
Orcus.
think
Oh,
yeah,
Orcus.
I think
Oh,
that's the meme.
okay. I see. I haven't watched his stream in a while, but yeah, okay. Um, but yeah, and they did Ninja Gaiden 1 mostly. And there was like one day where they did Ninja Gaiden 2. I did some races, and that was fun. But I got into Ninja Gaiden 1 around that time also because I wanted to race with them more. But that was about it, like for my initial like getting into running and doing stuff, racing was yeah, Ninja Gaiden 2, and then those races every Saturday got me into doing Ninja Gaiden 1 as well.
So obviously you were pulled into Ninja Gaiden 2 primarily. Is there like a nostalgic reason or
Um, yeah, actually. So I That's a good question. So the very first game I played actually was Gauntlet, and I remember there's actually like an old VHS tape of my mom recording me
Hmm,
like playing for the very first time, and it's just like nonsense, right? Like I had no idea how to do anything, just running into things and dying, but it
that's
was
most
cute.
Gauntlet players, I think.
Yeah, yeah, right. Um, but I also have a distinct memory. This was, I don't know, I was probably like two then, but I have a memory of when I was a little older, like 4 or 5 or something. I was at my brother's house, or I'm sorry, no, I was at my brother's friend's house with my brother, and they had Ninja Gaiden 2. And I remember the wind stage. If anyone knows or has played this casually, you get to the second, like the first stage is pretty simple. It's the 2-1, there's a train. It's annoying to get past, but it's pretty linear and easy. And then 2-2, they have this wind cycle where you get blown a certain way. And for like the novice gamer, it's just incredibly challenging with the limited lives. You're getting blown into pits, like blown into enemies and boosted into pits, and so like we couldn't get past that level. But I have this nostalgic memory of that, where yeah, we were trying to get past. Well, they were trying to get past that level, and then yeah, we rented it a few times. I remember us not being able to get past 3-1, which is the dark stage. So right after the wind stage, you encounter the darkness stage, which is another like stage hazard. Um, that was really tough. So yeah, we rented it and played that. Um, I mean, there's other memories of games that I'm like nostalgic for like that. But I think one of the things that really kind of I don't remember exactly why I did this, but like around high school time, um, I just wanted to play the game and like beat it like quickly, not really try to like speed run it or anything, but just try to sit down one sitting, like try to beat it, show my friends, and it became kind of like a routine thing. So it'd be like, I'd beat it, and then the next day I'd like do it again and do it again. And there was no like real attempt at going fast. It was more just consistency thing. But it just felt cool to play that game. Um, yeah, like, at a quote unquote high level for high school me that didn't know much about speedrunning or anything. But I think that was, yeah, I guess that was one of the games that I kind of like tried to play, like at least not multiplayer games, but like a single player game, kind of competitively, competing against myself. And then, yeah, it was mostly just that GDQ race that kind of was like, kind of linked it back to my high school days with that. And yeah, that kind of sparked it, I think.
You were like basically
Mhm.
speedrunning all the way back then. Just not
I
obviously
guess so.
recording it, but
Yeah.
yeah,
Mhm.
trying to improve your own skill.
Yeah. Yeah. Consistency. No save state practice, just practice. Yeah.
Save states even exist yet?
Yeah.
Right,
No,
so
no ever drives or anything,
oh no.
unfortunately. Yeah. OG hardware though. No emulators.
Respect.
Hmm.
So I guess in doing races and stuff, just what came of that?
What do you mean?
Just I guess what's next in the timeline? I don't know.
Oh, okay, okay. So yeah, in the races, yeah, so the races they were fun. And then they just kind of died off. I don't remember exactly why, and I kind of stopped playing. Um, actually had moved around that time. So it's kind of like my break from speedrunning. Um, and I remember there was a game that had just come out, SteamWorld Dig, which have you heard of that?
I have not.
Oh, okay. So it's this this is probably like 2012, 2011. I think I had my dates messed up before, but I don't know. No one's fact checking, I don't think. But the game came out and it's like a Metroidvania kind of with like some randomization elements. Not really roguelike, but you're basically this like miner in this futuristic era. So it's like already kind of a strange theme. But you're like a robot miner and you're mining, like you have your pickaxe and you have to collect minerals and upgrade your gear. You get different power ups, kind of like a Metroidvania. So like the overworld is randomized to some extent, and then you go in the little like rooms, which correspond to like actual main dungeons, basically, where you get the scheduled power ups and stuff. But I loved the game. I loved it so much. Another game that I played a lot when I was little was Mr. Driller and the Mr. Driller series, which actually is the technical sequel to Dig Dug.
Hmm.
Uh, if anyone's played Dig Dug or Mr. Driller and knows that, but it had kind of a similar style of like you're drilling and it's tile based. Mr. Driller is different because it's more action and puzzly, and you have like limited air and stuff. But it's tile based. You're a driller. You have a pickaxe and etc. Um, but yeah, I just love that game so much. And as soon as I beat it, I was like, I want to play this again. So I did. Um, and then I was looking at what like the speed runs were like for it. The game was pretty recent. It just came out at the time, and there was one run, and I looked at it, and I was like, oh, I think I can beat this. And it was like a few weeks um, of streaming that. I think I was like the only one in my stream, other than maybe a friend. But I ended up beating it, and I got the record, and that kind of gave me this taste of, ooh, that's I am maybe good enough to uh, well, at that time I didn't think I could get a record like Ninja Gaiden or anything, but I thought, I'm good enough to get like a record, and that's pretty cool. It felt really good. Um, and so fast forward like just a little bit, I also got into Super Meat Boy speedrunning around that time. And I met some friends in that community. That was a lot of fun. That game is like, it's a challenging game. It's a challenging game to speedrun, and it's even more challenging at like speedrunning at a high level. It's just like, holy cow, the type of stuff you have to do with timings to like get little movement optimizations. Um, but I remember like some friends were we like some of us would like watch each other stream or whatever. And I was talking to one guy. I was like, I kind of feel like playing Ninja Gaiden 2 again. And so I just started like streaming it, trying to beat my old time, which when I had taken a break was in 1104. And one of the barriers around that time that was like, I guess the Ninja license type barrier was like a sub 11. And so, or no, I think I got an 1102, but in any case, um, I kind of wanted to break that barrier. And so, yeah, I was playing, just kind of like refreshing myself. And it was around that time that I had caught a stream by Sinister One or Duckfist. I can't remember, but they were like in the same place together. One was visiting the other, and they were doing races. And I was like, oh, this is awesome. So I was watching it, and they brought up that there was going to be a Ninja Gaiden relay race of the trilogy at the GDQ that was coming up. And this is either for GDQ 14 or 15, I can't remember. Um, and it's funny how like more laid back things were back then. Like now GDQ is like super, I don't know the term, like big official, regulations, et cetera, et cetera. But here they had already accepted that the trilogy was going to be a part of the event, and they were actually like still trying to figure out who was going to run for it. And yeah, and so neither Sinister nor Duckfist were going to play because they wanted to commentate. And so I was in chat and I was like, oh, I'd be interested in doing that. And they remembered me, and I didn't honestly didn't have that good of a time around that time. They're like, yeah, well, we're taking like the top times from people that yeah, like if people want to go, then they'll take, if three people want to go, they'll take the two that have the top two times.
Mhm.
So it's kind of like proving themselves, or you could prove yourself to be a part of that race if you wanted to. Consistency and stuff was another factor, but
Mhm.
that was like their main guideline. And so this was, I forget, like I don't know, maybe in spring, and then GDQ was happening like the next year. And so, or maybe it was even later than that. I don't remember. Maybe summer. But yeah, that's when I started. I was like, okay, now I feel like I have a really strong drive to play this, because like I've always wanted to go to GDQ. This is like a one of a kind event to see this this relay race. They had never done anything like that before. And it just sounded like so cool, to have that relay, this team event. It's a race. It's the first time it's been done. Um, so yeah, I wanted to be a part of that. And so that was where I started like really pushing hard to get good at the game. Um, and there were a couple of other, well, let's see, at that time, the world record was by Ohon, a Japanese runner. It was like a 10:27. And Ohon was actually going to be at the event, but he was going to be playing Ninja Gaiden 1. I forget if he had the record in 1. I think he did at the time. Ohon, by the way, is one of the kind of legendary speedrunners in the same realm as like Hodorobi,
Mhm.
uh, Beko. that just like they're just really good at a lot of things. When I say really good, I don't mean they have, yeah, they don't have like top times. They have like record times in like several really hard games. Um, yeah, but in any case, that was the record, and my time was like an 11:02. So I had like 3 months, 3 to 6 months or whatever to improve it. And the other runner that was kind of going for it, well, there were two. There was Jorf, who everyone should know Jorf.
Yes.
Yeah, he has the favorite stage, but he was also a pretty big speedrunner. He'd been to GDQ's speedrun A Boy and His Blob. Actually, that was a fun run. Everyone should go watch that if you want.
The NES game.
Yeah, Boy
I
and
know
His
they made a
Blob.
remake later, but yeah.
Yeah. So that was the NES game. Good old Jelly Bean. Love the soundtrack. He also ran Kid Icarus a lot. That's a tough game. But yeah, the two runners, there were like three of us. There was me, a runner who doesn't really run anymore. His name's Gus Mancini, and Jorf. And so out of us, Jorf had like by far the top time. He was like pushing record around that time. And then Gus and I were like really similar. And so it was like who was going to, be the better out of me and Gus to get there. So fast forward a little bit, uh, well, Gus and I both were like progressing like pretty rapidly. I guess I won't fast forward. I'll give the full details. But Gus and I were both progressing like pretty rapidly. So like we both hit sub 11, which, felt really good. And contrary to like when I was playing the game before, where I just felt like I was at a wall, it was like once you hit the sub 11 wall, it was like your shackles are like off. And so I just kept getting the time like lower and lower, like every few days getting a PB, and it was just like, wow, okay, this is cool. I'm noticing progress, noticing consistency. Um, and yeah, that was awesome. So we got Gus and I both had like pretty good times, like around the 10:30, 10:40 range. Um, and it was around that time, maybe like November, where we found out Jorf couldn't actually go to GDQ. So it was actually going to be me versus Gus, and which was kind of neat because we had both kind of been rivaling each other, trying to get our times a lot lower. And there wasn't really any sort of pressure to try to like beat someone. It would have felt kind of bad for us to have like tried so hard to push our times down. Like, no, you can't make it. Um, so it kind of ended up working out. Um, and so it was around that time, yeah, then we found out Jorf couldn't go. And then in December sometime, Jorf had Jorf was playing the game still, even though he couldn't go. He ended up getting the world record and broke it for the first time in a long time. Um, and that's actually his time on the leaderboard if you look right now. But yeah, he beat Ohan's time. This is sometime like mid-December. And I think he got like a 10:24 or 10:22 or something. It's still a very, very respectable time and good run. And then like 4 days later, I ended up beating it. So
Wow.
he held the record for yeah, like 4 days, and I did not expect to be able to beat it at all. But I kept pushing, and I ended up having like a really good day and played it a lot and played really well, and somehow managed to beat his run. And the kind of cool part of that story too was this was like a week before GDQ. So it was like, boom, I get the record, boom, I go to GDQ, and then, I perform in that race. Do you want me to just keep going? I don't know if you have specific questions up to that point.
not up to that point. I guess just the GDQ experience because I assume that was your first time attending, right?
Yeah. Yeah, it was GDQs have evolved a lot. This one was like I mean, this wasn't like Mikuyama's basement GDQ. This was like a few years, or well, quite a few years after that. It was actually held at a hotel. Um, the streaming room was like pretty big. Uh, they had a lot of chairs laid out and stuff. Um, they had the practice room. The experience was great. I didn't really know very many people, but the people are really friendly. I don't know. I'm assuming they still have the practice rooms and
Oh
stuff.
yeah.
Yeah, but it's pretty straightforward to just, go sit down, play a game. And someone will come up to you and talk to you or whatever, or you can go up and talk to someone. Um, you'll find that like the speedrunning community, these people that maybe you think are like celebrity like are really not celebrity like at all. Everyone's just like, cool and approachable. Uh, and I remember seeing like some people that I thought were like, that I've been watching streaming for like ages. So it's kind of strange to like go up and be like, this guy's a legend, and at least to me, I mean, they're legends still, but they had legend status compared to me, and to just go up and like have a casual conversation. There's no sort of like seniority or superiority going on there. Like Cypher, for example, he came up and was talking to me, and I was like, I felt really intimidated at the time because Cypher is an extremely accomplished speedrunner all the way from the early days. Um, Another was like Garrison and his Super Metroid stuff. He's really easy to talk to. But yeah, so I mean, it's really easy to go there and hang out. Um, I'm not much of a watch person, so I didn't spend a lot of time in the stream room other than for things that I really wanted to see. Um, I actually spent a lot of time in the practice room, just like practicing for my run. Uh, and it's funny too because the guy, um, Josh, dude, I always get his name wrong. Is it Josh? Um, I'm sorry if you're watching this. I always want to call him Josh, but I don't think his name is Josh. Uh, the guy from he does the practice room stuff. Um, I remember he said like I was by far the most dedicated like practicer there. Like I would just basically practice for like 5 to 8 hours a day, like the 3 days before my run happened. Just always in there doing runs, practicing. Um, and yeah, after the relay, I was able to relax a little bit more. This GDQ was kind of in the middle of nowhere, Virginia. So far in the middle of nowhere that like if you wanted to walk to like Burger King or McDonald's or something, it was like 1 or 2 miles or something. And so they had some shuttles, but those are kind of few and far between. And this was even before they had food trucks. So I think like the next year they realized there was an issue. Like the venue was awesome. The location had some issues. And this was before like Uber or anything was really all that popular, so people weren't doing that so much. Um, but yeah, they added food trucks. Um, this one was cool because this was before the hotel kind of realized that it was a big gathering that they didn't have to have like it was okay to have subpar service for. So when we had like the breakfast buffet, for example, it was like mega high quality. Like the food was like amazing. It was fresh. You could tell that it was like people were cooking it like, right there, and people cared about it. The quality degraded a few years later where it was just more generic stuff. But
I'm sure the event more than doubled by in that time period though.
yeah, yeah,
So
that's true. Yeah, it's true. Um, yeah, this one was a lot smaller in terms of people. It was still, I mean, there was still a lot of people. But yeah, it grew pretty rapidly. Um, but yeah, that was good. That was fun. The experience was fun. Like I said, everyone's approachable. It's easy to meet people and talk to them. Yeah, I had a really good time in that regard.
Yeah. And how did the run go?
Um, so I won't spoil the result
Hmm.
because I recommend watching it. It was a very, very, very good race. It was very close, lots of lead changes. Um, there was one time in my run playing Gus where we were literally side by side, like frame by frame, which is kind of incredible for, two people play like the first game um, of varying skills. Yeah, that was Ohan versus Dexter. Um, I was on Team Frank or Z. This was a suggestion I gave to them before. I was like, let's give the teams um, Twitch emote names so that like people can just spam that emote in their chat for who they're cheering on.
Hmm.
They're like, okay, yeah, sure, why not? So we were Team Frank or Z. It was Dexter on Ninja Gaiden 1, me on 2, and Crack Attack on Ninja Gaiden 3. Crack Attack is quite the guy, by the way. He has the world or Where's Waldo record. Um, you have to have quite the personality to be able to go through that struggle. And yeah, everyone is very proud of him for that. Uh, but we were Team Frankerzy. Team Kappa was the other team. That was Dexter, or no, I'm sorry, Ohan for Ninja Gaiden 1, Gus Mancini for Ninja Gaiden 2, and I think his name now is like Old School Rich, Swedish guy. He was Ninja Gaiden 3. Um, but yeah, Ninja Gaiden 2, there was a point where Gus and I were literally just neck and neck, and it was just like that was after there was like a significant lead like deficit at some point. So it was just really cool to like see it get to that point. Um, my run ended up going like pretty well. I would say I think everyone's runs went pretty well, which is kind of surprising for that trilogy format. Actually, yeah, let me talk about that because we did a practice trilogy run. Like, there's a private practice room, and so we did that where Sinister and Duckfist even like went through commentary, and it was just a total disaster. Like, it went so bad. Ohan had like a god time. Dexter like died twice in Ninja Gaiden 1, like one according to some like really stupid thing that he was just being greedy for no reason. And I told him after, I was like, just be conservative. Like, we got to focus on consistency here. Um, but yeah, I think there was like a 3 minute difference between the two teams in that
No.
run. Um, and so I wasn't feeling like super good about it then. I was like, man, I hope it's going to be close. I just got to focus on my own game though. There's no, you know, I'm just going to put on the best show that I can and see what I can do. And it was really a volatile experience because, there's so much that can go wrong with the relay. It's very hard for them to end up close. And this is also the first time that GDQ had done it. And there was like a little bit of reluctance just because of, this complicated structure and that volatility. And if this hadn't gone well, there may have not even been relay races later for GDQs. Like, I know they've had Mario relay, they've had Donkey Kong Country relay. I'm sure there's been more.
Plenty of
Um,
Zeldas.
yeah, yeah. Um, but I think part of that was that they were comfortable with the fact that a relay could go well because ours went well. which is good because the practice one was not good. I mean, they're volatile. We got a little bit lucky, I'd say, but it ended up being a really good race.
Was that like the first relay at GDQ?
Yeah, it was the very
Wow.
first relay. Yeah, so that's another reason I recommend watching it. It was, the first time they had done that, the race was super close, it was good. Um, and the production was like pretty good at that time. Yeah, it's still fun to watch like to this day. Um, but with my run, like I just wasn't very nervous, and it was good. I think a lot of that was because like I knew there just wasn't anything that I could do. And I had practiced so much, I was just like, okay, I just got to do what I do, you know. Um, I had been on stages before for some like competitive card game stuff. So what I mean, nothing of this caliber of like the amount of viewers at a GDQ, but at least I was like familiar enough with that stage a little bit to like know you're on camera. There's a significant amount of people watching. Um, so the nerves weren't like that big in that regard. And yeah, I just played my run, cool, calm, collected. Things went mostly according to plan. Um, and yeah, it was a good race.
I'll have to look it up. I don't think I've seen it yet.
Yeah, I recommend it.
Yeah. I mean, I love relay races. I always check them out, so it's cool that that was the first one.
Yeah, well, yeah, that was the first GDQ one.
Mm-hmm.
They'd done, well, I mean, people have done relay races in the past.
Yeah.
The Mega Man relay is, one of the famous ones. But
Mm-hmm.
yeah, this was the one that worked well for the GDQ format.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, like, well, I can't say it's easy, but like less of a hassle to do it online, I guess, because
Yeah,
easier for people to show up. But getting
yeah,
six people in
right.
person, you don't know how that's
Yeah,
gonna go.
it was funny because we didn't have any sort of like structure on the um like timers or something for like you have a 10-minute or sorry 10-second like setup period between one game to the next.
Mm.
So we literally had this queue set up where so I was in the middle, so I didn't have to do anything. But Crack Attack, who was third, he had my controller like plug in ready for as soon as Dexter was done. And as soon as Dexter was done, his job was to like unplug Dexter's controller, plug mine in, hit the reset button to get back to the EverDrive menu, and then like I could start like right away. So there was actually like this dexterity part of the relay where it was playing around with controller cords and stuff to actually get into the next game like quickly. Nowadays, I think they do that a little bit smarter where, like I said, there's maybe a 10 or 20-second timer so you're not like fumbling to get everything set up.
But the setup
But yeah,
timer's basically added into your relay
yeah,
time.
yeah,
Okay.
and that's funny too because our system was like, okay, the Ninja Gaiden 3 player plugs in the Ninja Gaiden 2 player's controller, and then when 2 is about to end, the only like free person at that time is the Ninja Gaiden 1 player, so they will unplug the Ninja Gaiden 2 player and plug in like Ninja Gaiden 3 controller. So it's just this funny like logistics problem of figuring out how to do that. Um, no, the other funny thing too, this is probably on the VOD, but they had this ad hoc interview afterward where they interviewed the winning team. And I don't know how they got this guy. Sorry if you're watching. I don't really know who he is. I don't think he's even affiliated with speedrunning really. But he didn't seem to know much about speedrunning. It seemed like they just found some interviewer guy and had him give us an interview. And it was out of the nowhere. I didn't even know we were getting interviewed. And he asked us these questions that like just didn't really make any sense, and most of the audience kind of knew it didn't make sense. Like one was like, how did you guys decide the teams? Like, did is so and so gonna play the first game or the second game? And my answer was just like, well, we really only know how to play one game. Like we're gonna play that one. Um, but yeah, the I don't know if that interview's on there, but it was pretty funny. I tried my best to give answers that made sense, but it
Well, I
was it
guess we
was
know
kind
who
of
won
absurd.
now, though.
Maybe, yeah, maybe yeah,
Spoiler.
yeah. It was really close. I'll say that much. Uh,
No, it still sounds worth the time. But
yeah, it's worth watching for sure.
yeah, I'm sure the interview VODs are saved. I mean, especially back then, I think they just like clipped the whole, like they have the
Yeah,
entire stream there, including backgrounds, and they'll just chapter it. So I'm sure in some video adjacent to it, you could find that.
yeah. Well, if you go to our video, like it doesn't even start with the run. It's not like timestamped to the run. There's like 10
Yeah.
minutes of
Okay.
downtime where people are getting seated and stuff.
Okay. Yeah. So that's even before they
Yeah.
tame stamped YouTube. I mean, I
Mhm.
forget what, I don't know what event this exactly is. So.
Yeah, it was 14 or 15. Let me
Mhm.
let me just double check real
Yeah.
quick.
GDQ VODs is the site I like to find anything from GDQ's history.
Yeah, this was 2015.
Okay.
Yep.
Got it. So that was the event after, well, the AGDQ after the like first 1 million, and the like the AGDQ everyone remembers. I feel is 2014 if they've been watching a while.
Hmm. Okay.
So
Yeah.
it's a good frame of
Yeah,
reference.
that was when it started getting like more mainstream, I would say.
Oh yeah, yeah. I wasn't around yet, but I do like watching the old videos back because like you can tell it's GDQ, but the vibes are different, the text's different, and it's fun to watch
Yeah.
it how it progressed over time.
Yeah, they made a huge emphasis on production quality, and it's good and bad. Uh there's much less of this like little family community atmosphere and more of this like big, huge, high production quality, everything regulated type of setting.
Yeah.
Uh,
But also
which
like
you can
speedrunning
understand.
in general kind of went that
Yeah,
route. Like it's so massive now, like you just kind of
yeah,
have to. And I mean there are still like small events here and there that kind of have the same old feel from what I've heard, but
yeah,
yeah, I mean just that's almost like speedrunning's fault for being too interesting for people to
yeah. They
watch.
they needed some sort of event that was going to be like the mainstream one, and GDQ just went that way, and yeah.
Oh, yeah. I mean GDQs are still the highlights of my year, so
Hmm.
they're still very much worth the time. But yeah, I'm sure they are very different than how it used to be.
Yeah, I do want to go to a GDQ. I haven't been doing like all that much speedrunning recently. And part of it is like if I went, let's just say I go to the next AGDQ, I feel like a lot of the people that I normally go and like see there are probably not going there because I have a lot of
I think you'd be
friends that I know that just
surprised,
aren't.
honestly. I mean, I
Yeah,
don't
well, I
know
think.
exactly who, but I know people that have been going for like well over a decade still go, and there's even a whole NES block they have set up, like
Mhm.
Yells, Mr.
Yeah,
Vega,
yeah,
and well, Enemy hasn't been there in a while, but they all set up like a whole like few days of NES games and stuff. So there's still a pretty good community of people that do that.
yeah, yeah. I'm sure there's like people that I would know and see. Um, but I mean, like the people that I roomed with, for example, the last time, none of them go anymore.
Yeah, that's fair.
Um, yeah. So But yeah, I'd like to go again when I have some time and I'm doing running again. It's just a matter of when I go.
Hmm. Well, I don't think they're going anywhere anytime soon, so
Yeah.
can always just come on back.
Mhm.
And
So do you,
there's something for everyone, so that's the good
yeah,
thing.
yeah. Yeah, location matters too.
Hmm.
Last one I went to was before COVID in Florida,
Ah, yes.
but yeah, that one's better than Washington in the winter, I would say.
And now it's in
Yeah.
Pittsburgh, and both
Okay.
years it was like below freezing the entire week.
Okay.
So
Okay.
fun times, but it's worth it.
I've never been to Pittsburgh, so that might be fun to just go.
It
Yeah, and
is.
check it
The
out.
location is very nice.
Okay.
Um, the hotel rooms a little interesting. The venue though, very good. And then like unfortunately it's cold as hell in that time, but
Yeah.
like there's a square a couple blocks away full of restaurants and stuff. So
Okay.
location's good, just temperature and hotel rooms are the cons, I'll say.
I see. Yeah. Okay.
But yeah, it's
Yeah.
still fun. I've been to what have they done? Two of them in Pittsburgh now. I've been to both.
Okay. The same hotel
Yeah,
each
it's the same
time?
hotel.
Okay.
Again, the venue is very nice, but yeah,
Hmm.
the hotel rooms, everyone agrees, a little interesting. The bathroom doors don't lock, and
Oh yeah, we had that on in one of our, yeah, in the main hotel
and it,
too.
and it's got a window that is just blurry.
Okay.
Or I don't know.
Nice.
We could
Yeah.
complain about the
You
hotel
you
rooms.
can you can sleep, right?
You
So that's
can
all that matters.
sleep. I have slept successfully multiple times, so
All right.
if that's all
Good.
that matters, it
Yeah.
works. But
Nice.
yeah, I mean, obviously I'm going to SGQ in a week, but that
Oh
hotel
yeah.
they're in now, that you've probably been to the DoubleTree, I assume.
I think so.
Hmm. Yeah, they moved to downtown in a Hilton.
Okay.
Beautiful, beautiful
Okay.
venue, beautiful hotel, everything. Great location, just peak. So,
Uh-huh.
because yeah, I don't know if
All
you've been to
right.
that one, but
I don't remember.
or you said you
Um,
haven't been there post COVID, right?
right.
Yeah, okay. They moved to this hotel post COVID, so that's
Okay.
why.
Yeah, I don't think I've been to that one then.
Hmm. Yeah, but I was at the DoubleTree a couple times as well, which is where SGQ was in like 2018, 2019, even 2022 before they moved downtown. But yeah,
It's
Th-
been so long, I can't really remember the venue all that well.
yeah.
But
Um, I guess I can't really explain it. I remember well just because the first GDQ I went to was that hotel, so you
okay.
kind of
Yeah.
always remember that first experience. And
Right.
then
Yeah, I have.
the
Go
COVID
ahead.
year where everything was so weird.
Oh
But
yeah, in Florida.
no,
Oh,
um,
the first one after
the
COVID.
first one. It was
Ah,
just
okay.
it was not time to come back yet. I
Okay, I
guess.
see. Yeah, it makes sense.
But like the stream room, the chairs were like all 6 feet apart. So it just
Wow.
looks so
Okay.
funny.
Yeah, that makes
But
sense.
yeah,
Okay.
no, they're back in full force now. It's pretty fun. Like I know they sold out this event,
Oh,
so
nice. Okay.
like 2,600 cap I think might hit.
Wow.
Yeah, I'm sure not that many people were going in 2015.
Yeah, I don't. Dude, I don't know the numbers at all. Not that many for sure. Yeah,
Yeah.
and most people that were going were runners
Hmm.
also.
Yeah, I guess I
Um,
never really thought about that. Yeah, so many
mhm,
people that go are not actually in
mhm.
the event.
Yeah.
But
Yeah, back then, I mean, you needed runners. It was less of like a competition to get in and more of a we actually need things to fill the slots with.
That's
Um,
crazy because now like their submissions are they can only take 1% of the submissions
yeah,
pretty
right.
much.
It's like hyper
It's so
competitive
much.
now. Yeah, I mean, even just, my experience with the relay race, it was like, yeah, we don't have the runners yet. We'll figure that out later. Oh, you want to do it? Okay, cool. Like they would
Mhm.
never do anything like that
Oh yeah,
now.
no.
Um, but yeah. Um, well, should I kind of continue my Ninja Gaiden story or
Sure thing. I think
okay.
we had a
Um,
nice tangent there.
yeah. So this is GDQ relay race. Um, I ended up playing more after I came back from GDQ, and
Did more
one of the
people
thing,
watch because of like GDQ numbers? I know sometimes they
yeah,
would boost you back then, especially.
yeah, I ended up getting a lot of followers. I remember. I don't know how many of them stuck, but it was kind of a good boost,
Hmm.
yeah, in that popularity. But so one of the things, like I kept like pushing the time down a little bit here and there, and there were people that were playing the game. There was actually like kind of a new wave of runners at one point, which was we held this tournament, uh, which was an awesome tournament, by the way. I don't think there had been another tournament with a format like this. It was a Swiss format, so what it meant was you would get paired against someone round one. Whoever won the head-to-head race, they would like get a win, and then round two you would play against other people who had a win or other people who had a loss, depending on where you were at. Anyone who's played in like card game tournaments, that's usually how they run it, like a Swiss event. And so it slowly whittles down to the different records toward the end. And then, so that was one weekend, that was like a Saturday. And then the next weekend, it was a top eight. Um, and it was like 2 out of 3 brackets. So, like, I would play Arcus or someone, and we would just play like 2 out of 3 and go,
Hmm.
whoever wins goes to the next one. Uh, but that was a lot of fun. And it actually brought in, someone had added like a money prize for it. And this was actually when Sinister One had like just gotten hired for Twitch.
Oh yeah.
And so, yeah, so he was trying to like kind of leverage his role as Twitch person to organize this and get it going and stuff. And someone offered, I don't really know the details, but there was someone just put up like $100 for first place. And so that drew like, a few people. But it kind of like just became popular. There were a lot of runners from certain games that decided to just try it out. Um, so I think Prissy, I want to say Prissy did it. Um, Yogi the Monk, White Hat, um, Gyarados, who I don't think really streams or plays anymore, but he was like a really good runner around that time of other games. Endy, who had never even really played the game, but um, Endy's known for Batman and other NES games. Um, Toad. I think there's a few others that I'm missing, but it was just a lot of runners from various games that you got a lot of good runners in this event. Oh, I think even Zallard joined. Zallard and maybe even Angry Lanks. Um, so it's all of these names that you probably heard at some point. Maybe you don't know them too well, but
I think I've heard of all of
they
them.
yeah, they're known for something in some NES game, and we all just kind of came together to do this Ninja Gaiden 2 race, and it was a really good race. or tournament, I guess, tournament. And so that was cool. You actually, if you look at the leaderboards, you'll see about a bunch of names around that time. So like if you look at Endy's personal best, it will be, however many years ago, like 8 years ago. And you'll see a lot of PBs around that time. So that's where like White Hat was playing the game, Endy, Gyarados, etc. And a lot of them just played it like highly concentrated in this short amount of time and then just, moved on to other stuff. But it was this cool like surge in popularity of Ninja Gaiden 2, where a lot of people were playing it and getting really good times. And actually going back a few months or maybe even a year, I could talk about like the record history a little bit more because that tournament was probably like maybe 2 years after AGDQ. And there was a lull in people playing the game. So I think Jorf was still playing, and I was playing after GDQ, and I got the time down to I think like a 10:17, like after a few small record improvements. And we were kind of like joking about the Ashtar quick kill. So it's one of the, let me give the history of it first, but I was trying to get it in slow motion on emulator. So the task does this thing that's not humanly possible, to get an even faster kill, where you have to like do left, right, like alternating frames, basically to go off a platform on a platform, which like resets your slash cancel. So you can slash like repeatedly, but it's something that's like inhumanly possible.
Because that's like
And
every frame, right? You're pushing a different button.
it's like an ever
That's not
perfect alternation type thing is literally impossible. But the way that the game works is there's cooldowns. So like if you slash, Ryu is just stuck there standing and he can't do anything for like 16 frames. But if you jump after the slash actually like registers, you can cancel that. And then also if you're slashing while you're in the air and you land, that also resets it. So like you can theoretically get, and this is humanly possible, a bunch of slashes in quick succession where like you slash while you're on the ground, you jump, you slash immediately after jumping, you slash at like the apex of the jump, slash right before landing, slash when you land, and then jump and slash again. So you can get like 3 slashes in like slash land slash jump slash. You can get 3 slashes in like a very quick succession that way. Normally it's like 16 frames per slash, but like you can fit 3 slashes in like 15 frames that way.
I know Ninja Gaiden 1 has you can like cancel a slash with like a down input, so 2 does not have that.
2 does not have that, no. And that's actually one of the things that kind of deters me from 1 is because 2 doesn't have any sort of mashing or like all you have to hold the controller a certain way. 2 is just like technical inputs. It's not like a totally different, mash or whatever, which exists for one part of the game.
Yeah.
And a lot of the technical things in 2 are also going to overlap, which is another thing I like about the game. So like in Ninja Gaiden 1, like the mashing, like you only do that for the final boss. But in Ninja Gaiden 2, like this slash canceling that I'm talking about, this applies every boss and it also applies like throughout the run. So you're just using it in various parts. So, your hands get used to this technique and it gets better and you're just using it and slowly improving it over time. But so the slash, the same is true for when you use your special. So like to use a special, you hit up and B, which like throws, fire. Ninja Gaiden 2 fire is the big one. Ninja Gaiden 1 spin slashes. But in Ninja Gaiden 2, you do quick kills with the fire because you have these clones. So like if you throw like an up B fire, yours will hit the boss, and then you have two clones, so those also hit the boss. So like a single up B press will hit the boss for 3 damage. Um, and so the way that the Ashtar fight works is Ashtar appears in the same spot, and it's supposed to be kind of like an intro scene to the fight where he appears and then boom, he disappears. And then he appears somewhere else and he attacks you, and he disappears and appears somewhere else and attacks you. So the way that the first phase of that is designed is it's really just him like showing himself and then he disappears. And he has this like short, like couple second vulnerability window in that. And if you just sit there and mash up B as fast as you can, like adhering to the cooldown rules, because you can only use it, so often without canceling, you can get Ashtar down to 1 hit point. So which is like 1 up B press short. So you can go into like emulator and perfectly time it, whatever, mash it as fast as you can. The best you can do is to get him down to 1 hit point, and it's also pretty challenging. It's not something like maybe like godlike mashers could probably get it consistently, but if I sat there down there and tried to just mash it out to get him to 1, I'd probably get it like 1 in 5 or 1 in 10 times. So the idea was, can we kill him faster by utilizing the canceling? And so there's like 2 little tricks to this. If you stand where you start the fight and try to just like throw up Bs and jump to cancel, you can't do it fast enough. I'm pretty sure I tried this in an emulator and passing it out. And the reason is because as long as there's fire on screen, you can't throw out another fire. So if there's fire on screen and you try to do an up B, Ryu will just like shoot his palm out, but it will just be like nothing. So you have to actually wait for every projectile to disappear before you can press up B again. And so the way to alleviate that is that you have to slowly approach the boss while you're throwing your up Bs. Because if you're closer to him, then the projectiles hit him sooner, they disappear sooner, and you can throw a new one sooner. And so those were kind of the moving pieces of this puzzle where we need to utilize cancels. We also need to approach the boss and find the right way to do that at the same time. And so I sat down in emulator at, I think it was like a quarter speed, and I ended up getting the kill like after like an hour of trying. And I tried it at half speed and I couldn't get it in like a couple hours. And so it was just this like joke for a while, like, okay, this is technically possible, but like, no, it's too hard. And there was one day, this is when I had like the 1017, where I was like, you know what, I want to give this like a real college try. And so I just sat down on like actual hardware, no emulator. And I just sat down and tried it. And I booted up my stream, and it was like Ashtar quick kill attempts. And it was just me practicing this one boss fight, loading state, trying again for 8 hours, and I didn't get it a single time. Yeah. I forget if I saved that VOD, but yeah, it was tough. And so the next day, like I was determined to get it once because I knew I could do it. So the next day I did it again, the stream, and this time I actually got it in the case of like 2 hours. And so at this point I was like, oh wow, okay, so this is actually like doable.
Mm-hmm.
Is it consistent? Probably not. It's insanely hard. And that highlight is in my Twitch VOD somewhere. It's a pretty good reaction. but the next day, like this is when I was a PhD student. So before I set my alarm like an hour before I usually go to class, and I got up and I was like, okay, I'm just gonna sit down and try this, like no streaming. And I ended up getting it within like 30 minutes of attempts. And then the next day it was like within 15 minutes of attempts. And so the fact that I noticed that time like going down, I was like, okay, there's some amount of consistency here and it can be improved. And so the goal then was to like, yeah, how consistent can it be? And so I kept practicing it. And the goal then was like to see if you could get it in a run. So there's no real, the thing about this trick is that there's no real downside to going for it in a run. Because worst case, you just maybe miss one of your up Bs, but as soon as he appears again, you kill him, no problem. The upside is that you save 4.5 seconds on a run that's like, 10 minutes long. And so that's like a huge chunk of time to be able to get that. And so I went for it in runs, and I ended up getting one in a run. And it wasn't like a PB, but it was just kind of a proof of concept. And yeah, eventually I started getting it in runs, not consistently, but enough that maybe 1 in 5, 1 in 10 runs I would get it, and then as long as that's the run that has it and you get the record, then boom, you can get the record. And so the record that I had and I stopped at for a long time was I think a 10:10. Or no, it was a 10:07. It was a 10:07. And that had the Ashtar kill in it. I think all of the PBs like up to that point after the 10:17, which were like 1-2 second PBs, had that kill. And Jorf, that was actually the reason Jorf stopped speedrunning that game, was because that kill became a part of the run, and it killed his interest in speedrunning it, just because it was too difficult for like relative to the other type of stuff that you have to do in that game. And so it's kind of notorious that way. Becco, who I'll get to in a second, had the record for a long time, and he's incredibly talented in all sorts of games, says that this is one of the top 3 hardest tricks that he's had to do in like any game ever. This is up there with the plate kill from Ninja Gaiden 1,
Oh
which I
my.
don't know. Yeah, I don't know
Yeah,
too much about that, but
that just like you
um,
need really fast mashing with that.
yeah,
That's like what is it, Jackio, right? And it's like
yeah,
2 cycle or something.
yeah. So this is like a different skill set. This is like technical rhythm timing type thing. But in terms of raw difficulty, it's yeah on that level. And then there's some trick and gimmick that he compared it to, and I don't know much about gimmick, but there's some really really hard skip and gimmick that it's also like that level of difficulty. Um, but yeah, in terms of consistency, that's on you'll get it sometimes and you won't get it sometimes, and sometimes you'll have hot streaks and sometimes you won't. So I think like I was on a hot streak when I did that tournament I was mentioning, and in the top 8, like 5 out of my 7 um Ashtar hits were quick kills, which is just like really really good. I haven't had that sort of consistency like ever. When I was doing my most recent grind, it was probably like 1 in 3 attempts, and that's pretty common, I think. Um, but it's pretty big. It's pretty make or break the run, because like 4.5 seconds when you're pushing so little time to be saved is yeah, very important. And that kind of sums up the timeline up to like the summoning salt video. If anyone's watched the summoning salt video, um, yeah,
Everyone's
the
seen
summoning
it. I mean,
salt,
with that title, ugh,
yeah, yeah, the quest to
instant,
beat Chibi Poopin.
instant click.
Yeah, yeah. So that's like the history up to that point. Um, the summoning salt video kind of starts around when I got my 1007, and kind of proclaimed that was like my goal, was getting a good sub 10 time.
Mhm.
And I proclaimed that the game was dead.
Rookie
Um,
mistake.
yeah, rookie mistake. By the way, when I got my recent lawnmower world record, I also said game dead. Partially because I just want someone to beat the time so I can play it
Oh,
again.
okay.
Um,
Reverse
uh,
psychology. Smart, smart.
yeah, right, right. Um, the lawnmower time is phenomenal though. So if you like mowing lawns, watch my lawnmower record.
Classic NES homebrew.
Yeah, it's fantastic. But yeah, like so my run was like a 1007 and my sum of best was like a 1005 or something.
Jesus.
And so yeah, it was like there was very little to be improved on that run with like the current strategies. And that was where yeah, it felt like things were kind of gonna be that way for a while.
Mhm. It's rare you see like that close to some of best.
Yeah. I mean, part of it had to do with the fact that not very many people were running the game.
Hmm.
And I wasn't sure if it was just me being like, this one guy in this one game, and it's a good time, don't get me wrong, but if there were a bunch of other like really good runners running it, like would I have the record? Um, and I did feel validated for the most part because those really good players from other games like did take some time to dig into Ninja Gaiden 2. Um, and they didn't quite get like the kind of time that I was getting. Um, but I think it was kind of when Becco came around that like I felt humbled, a little bit, actually a lot of bit. Because Becco actually picked this game up for the what do you call it? 12-hour challenge,
Hmm.
something that Golden, an old speedrunner, made a long time ago, where you would just pick a game and then see how well you could speedrun it within 12 hours. I remember Blecky tried that with Super Mario 1, trying to get the sub 5 in 12 hours. I don't think he got close. um,
Certainly
but
a task.
yeah.
I know
Uh,
Nycro did it, the Odyssey speedrunner.
okay.
Karua did it.
Okay.
Yeah, I remember that too. That was a.
Okay.
I know Cosmic and Karua had some little thing they did with a 12-hour or
Okay.
something. But yeah,
Yeah.
certainly
That's a
possible.
challenging.
Just yeah, a little. To, I say my thing is I say anyone can get it in like a week if they put in the effort.
Uh-huh.
12 hours in like one day. I ain't saying that. That's you're pretty good at games if you can do that.
Yeah. You have to be pretty special. I mean, for
Certainly not
me, like,
impossible. But
yeah, when I learn stuff, I tend to learn stuff very quick and then I plateau very quick for a long time. And then I'm good at like slowly pushing up past that plateau. So I feel like if I tried to do something like that, I would just fail miserably because I wouldn't be able to pick up the consistency quick enough.
Mhm.
Um, Getting that sort of consistency for me, that requires a lot of effort and practice.
Yeah, and I do think it's important to like build up slowly to that point
Yeah.
because I when I first started speedrunning, I did do like sub 5 for first PB attempts and luckily that didn't work out, but like I didn't PB forever because of that decision. So, I
Yeah.
can speak from experience that Bad idea. Do not do that.
Yeah. I actually did something like that with Ninja Gaiden 1. I forget when, but there was a time where I wanted to get the Ninja Gaiden 1 record.
Mm.
Um, I wanted to have record in all three games. And so I just copied, I think Ohan had the best at the time. So I copied his run and then I added some even harder stuff. And my run was just like, doing everything as hard as you possibly could. And my sum of best was pretty good, but like my completed runs were not good. They were really bad because yeah, I didn't have any sort of consistency on that stuff, and that progression was not there. Um, yeah, but Becco had picked that up for 12-hour challenge, and he liked it, and he just kept going and kept going and going and going, and beat my time, and I was like, oh wow, okay, and then kept going, and ended up getting stuck at the 10-minute barrier. Uh, so he actually pushed against that barrier for a really long time and couldn't overcome it. So his time like pretty rapidly progressed all the way down to a sub 10, or I'm sorry, to a 10-minute flat.
Mhm.
But then he just got stuck there and eventually stopped. I think he was going through some personal stuff because like his Twitter had gotten deleted and his times got removed from leaderboards for a while. I think he asked them to be removed. I hope it wasn't Ninja Gaiden 2 that caused it, but uh, pushing for sub 10 can drive a man insane. So maybe it was. I don't know.
So
But
when you say 10 flat, you mean like literally 10 0 0 1 less than a second away.
less than a second. Yeah,
Yeah.
it was
Wow.
10. It was 10 minutes, 0 seconds, and then like some amount of
Yeah, yeah.
milliseconds. I don't remember. Um, it was like a 10:00.6 or something. Um, and I think, yeah, actually, I don't remember. But the main thing that he did was he just went for some more stuff that I didn't think could be consistent enough to include. Um, and so, like, when you think about Ashtar, like I mentioned, there's no real downside to trying Ashtar.
Because if you
It's not,
fail, you're not losing
it's,
time over the normal strat.
yeah, exactly. Um, and it's a huge time save if you get it.
Hmm.
But some of the things that Becco included that like they were at my next step of things to include, but I was just happy with my time, so I just kind of stopped there.
Yeah,
They
the
had
game's dead.
pretty
Why add more?
yeah, right. They had pretty big risks associated with them. Like one of them you would just die, and one of them you would probably lose like 2 or 3 seconds. And these things were only saving like a half a second. And so it's not like Ashtar where like boom, huge time save if you get it. If you don't get it, at least you can continue the run as normal. Here it was like you're dead or whatever. You have to completely restart.
Hmm.
The risk reward just wasn't there for what I thought. And if you look at the numbers, like the risk reward probably is not there unless you're pushing for a really top time. But Becco showed that that sort of stuff can be done consistently. Uh, so the two notable examples are they're very similar tricks. In 4-2, um, which is the stage where like the water is rushing you, there's this section where you can either go down as intended and then climb this waterfall, or you can kind of like jump over the level in a way, but you have to do this like jump, latch onto the wall, and do this like funny backslash thing, and then do this little clip, um, and go through a wall, kind of, but it's like over the wall.
Hmm.
And if you miss that, you fall into a pit unless you like really quickly catch yourself and correct it, but that's really hard to do. And then there's a very similar one in 7.2 where you're going over the wall. Actually, there's two of them. I'm sorry, it's 7.1, but there's two of those in 7.1 where it's a similar input where you're climbing up, like instead of going down and around, you climb up and do some like over the wall thing. And so those, like around the time I was maybe like 1/3 consistency, but I hadn't really practiced it that much. And I think it's because it wasn't a very mechanical trick. Like when I was playing the game around that time, I was huge on mechanics and like being able to sit down and figure out what exactly the inputs need to be for like if you want to edit it in a task or something. But this was more like muscle memory and by feeling. So like, if you're gonna like swing a golf club or a tennis racket or something, you don't think like, okay, at this frame, my arm needs to be here and then my elbow needs to be here at this frame. Like it's not like that, right? It's just kind of one smooth motion and your body like remembers it. And these tricks are kind of like that, where it's less about, okay, let me break down the inputs and see every little piece of it, and more like just do it and get used to it, and you'll get better at it over time. Just kind of trust the process. And that's what I learned about these tricks after I tried them later on. Like I was trying to overanalyze it too much, and like, why did this go wrong? Like, what was my wrong input here? But really it was just more like just try it and do it, and get used to it. But those are just a couple examples of tricks where those like he kind of pushed that time barrier because he was willing to go for those and look and add consistency to those strats. And I mean, otherwise, his consistency was great. He basically took my run and had about the same amount of errors and included harder stuff. And so, I mean, back when I was watching Becco's stream, one of the things that really separated him from me was consistency. He's just really like gonna always get really good times. If you watch my stream, I'm very hit or miss on stream days. Some days or even weeks, like I won't even get past like the third act or even the second act. And maybe I'll have spurts of where things go well. But it's like if you tune into a Becco stream, like you're gonna see some really good times every stream, and maybe even multiple really good times. And so I'm trying to remember exactly what made me want to come back. Boy, I don't even remember. Maybe Summoning Salt's video covers it because I forgot. But at some point I came back and yeah, ended up getting that. Oh, wait, no? Okay, I don't remember. I ended up getting the sub 10. I came back and I say it like it was so quick and easy. It wasn't quick and easy at all. It was a long process of streaming and learning things. And throughout that time, Becco and I actually both submitted runs to GDQ. This was the one that was in Florida. So I think that was like 2019.
Oh,
yeah.
Yeah, Florida was 2020.
Yeah.
Right before COVID.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
No, yeah, 2020 is that one. And so Becco and I raced that there. And it was around that time when, yeah, I was pushing for sub 10. And then Becco, well, it was a long, like, process of trying to get this sub 10. And then sometime around that time, Becco, like, picked up the game again. And I was like, oh, crap, is he going to get it? Because, like, the sub 10 barrier can only be broken once. And it was kind of a joke.
Time, at least.
Yeah. Right. The first time, I mean. There was like a joke around my stream of like sub 10, like, that's never gonna happen. But as it became a reality, more and more of a reality, I was like, you know, I've done so much for this game, I want to get that achievement. And so I was doing it like, you know, slowly trying to get back to where I was before. Eventually got a couple of good times and close to like I ended up PBing, I remember, and getting an even better time. And then Becco picked it up again, and I was like, oh crap, like he wants this too. And so that was kind of cool because there was a little period where he and I were both streaming, like pushing for this goal. Um, I don't remember the exact details around that time, but I ended up getting, I think it was a 957. Um, and then, yeah, we did the race. It was a good race at GDQ. I didn't really, I don't know, I wasn't like super in it for some reason. I didn't play like I wanted to play, but it was good. Becco played phenomenal, and I don't want to place the emphasis on me like not playing good. Becco just played really good. um, his time was amazing. Um, but then yeah, I took a break, and then out of nowhere, Becco came back, and it only took like a few weeks of streaming, and he beat my time and got like an even better time, um, which was like a 955 or something.
What'd you say yours was?
So it was a 957.
And was that the first sub 10?
Yeah,
Okay. I
I
thought
think so.
I thought I remember Arcus getting a sub 10 and I thought it beat your time.
It did, but that was a lot later.
But
I don't know.
that would have been a 959.
I don't know.
Watch the summoning
I
solve
don't. I
video.
don't. Yeah, I gotta watch the summoning
Some
solve video. I forget this
that'll
stuff.
have the information.
Yeah. Um. Uh.
Viewers have
Okay.
homework if they haven't seen it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
Um. But
But you
so
had the
I ended
first
up.
sub 10. Not
Yeah.
that's the important thing,
That's
clearly.
the important thing.
I
That's the
see.
important thing. Yeah. But then Becco got this like God time, and I was like, oh, okay. He already had a time, so he beat my I think it was 957. He beat it like just barely, by like a half second or a second or something. And I was like, man, okay, I'm gonna play this again. And so that was when I started my stream every day thing until I beat. It started off as stream every day until I get a PB,
Mhm.
because the time that Becco beat me with was so close to my PB that I wasn't. I was like, okay, if I PB, I'll probably just beat him. I didn't really want to sound like super arrogant, like, oh, I'm gonna get the record. It was more like I'll just improve my best, and they'll hopefully also get the record. But then like a week or two later, Becco like out of nowhere just came with this even better run, which
The
was like
955.
yeah, the 955,
Okay.
and it's just like, oh, okay, this is wow. Um, and it looked like I had a lot of work ahead of me if I wanted to do that. Like the extra 2 seconds, it actually is like so big here. Um, and I was like, whatever, I'm still dedicated. So I changed my stream title from stream every day until I get a PB to stream every day until I get the world record.
Do you
Um,
remember like what maybe not the exact date, but like around the time that started?
I remember the time it ended, and I can do the math to tell you when it started.
Well,
It
let's
was around it was
okay.
around when COVID, like when lockdown was happening.
So like
Because I
March 2020?
yeah, it might have been a little bit later.
Okay. Like
I don't know. Maybe it was a year later, like when we were in full. Yeah,
oh,
maybe it
like
was like
okay.
full fledged. Yeah,
I
like
see.
oh, this is how things are gonna be for a while.
Okay,
Um,
okay.
yeah, yeah, it was around then.
I see.
Um, and yeah, I just kind of like kept at that, And boy, that was an experience because I didn't it's hard to play a game when you don't really want to play it. Um,
I would
not
not
saying that
even
I don't want,
recommend that.
yeah. Um, and so I had to come up with creative ways to help myself stay engaged with it. And it's not that I don't like Ninja Gaiden 2. Like I love Ninja Gaiden 2, but there's a difference between like playing a game for enjoyment and playing a game because you have to attain like a certain goal.
Hmm.
Um,
Not to
and
mention burnout. Very
yeah,
easy.
burnout. Uh-huh. And so I had to come up with these different strategies. And one of them I did was actually Pomodoro practice, which is like you set a timer and practice for like 25 minutes. And then you take a 5-minute break and like switch to another thing to practice.
Hmm.
Um, and there was like a joke I remember Cypher said at the time, like, if this works, like Jimmy's gonna like coin the Pomodoro practice method for speed running. I think it helped. I don't think it was like super influential. Um, but yeah, I came up with these little sub goals to try to get like, especially with consistency, um, like to get and each stage in that game has a timer. Like, so it starts at 250 seconds and counts down. And so when you get to the end of a stage, you know what the timer is. Like 223 is the best you can get in 5-1, for example. And so what I would do, I would kind of like eyeball the fractions of seconds also, because if you feel like a second should have elapsed, then it's like a 223 flat. But if it like just switched to 223, then it's like I marked it as 223.75 or something.
Do you know how many
But
frames of an in-game second was?
yeah, well, yeah, I didn't want to like sit down and like meticulously figure that out. It was just a
One, two.
quick guideline type thing. Yeah,
Yeah,
no thanks. I'm not going into my VOD and like counting that.
fair enough.
Um, but the purpose was to like um try to get like maybe in 10 attempts like 8 out of 10 of them to be like a 223 or better. And so I tried to do that for like all of the stages, something like that, and try to do it like 3 times in total. And so that was one of my little like mini games, because just doing attempts or like practicing a certain thing was getting kind of boring. So I would do those on my stream where I would practice, go for the stage time, for example. And that was like my goal for the day. So setting these little mini goals helped with that.
Mhm. I know
Another thing,
Mario
go
64
ahead.
runners do similar things for their practice
Okay.
methods. Like they call it streaks, where it's like put up a time for a certain IL, and then how many times
Uh,
can you like beat that sub in a row over the
Yeah.
course of a certain amount? Like, and apparently it's very efficient. So it sounds like you were
Yeah.
doing optimal stuff.
Yeah. Okay. Well, yeah, I think it worked pretty well for me. I yeah, it helped with the consistency. The other thing that like was kind of funny around that time, because I was balancing like heavy work around that time also, which made it tough. Um, there was one spring break, or Christmas break actually, where I was like, okay, I'm gonna sit down and like switch from streaming like 2 hours a day because of work to like 4 to 8 hours a day, and just really like get this done over Christmas break. And so it was looking like really good. And I kept like a big log of my runs where my mistakes were and stuff. And was feeling pretty good about it. Like, okay, I can get this. And right around that time, I got a message from Scumtron, who's like the tasser of the game, and was like, "Hey, have you seen this?" And sends me a video to this Chinese website of these Chinese tassers, and they found there were two tricks that involved going through walls that like normally requires a simultaneous left press plus right input,
Which
which
is
is
banned.
you can't, yeah, you can't do.
Hmm.
But there's two walls where there's a certain like property to this wall. Well, actually, we found out later that doing some really goofy subpixel thing, you can actually do this with most walls, but the setup, like, as soon as I found that out, I went through every single like stage and was seeing, is there any way I can improve this? Is either the setup was too taxing or like it just wasn't even faster. But there's two sections where you can do this, and you can save a significant amount of time. So one was in 4.2, the water pushing water stage, and the other was in 5.2, Jor's favorite stage with the ice. The one in 5.2 was like completely free. I actually made a tutorial for it in like a 30-second clip, and it's pretty easy to do. The reason it works there so easily is because the ice physics like push you into the wall. So you get a little bit nudged into the wall, and it's just like a quick movement to get out and fall through. The one in 4.2 is different, and it requires a specific hold, like left in A, and then tap right for a frame, and then immediately left again. So I heard there's like a similar trick in Zelda where it's like for the screen wrapping, I think, where it's like you need to tap something for. Wait, no, it's just I think that's something different.
The, I know
Sorry, I'm
the
talking about
Zelda
it. I'm
thing
talking about.
is you're positioned like 5 or so pixels from the side of the screen. You tap up for one
Uh,
frame. Link will turn
yeah.
around and then you hold right. He screen wraps and then you hold left and then. But it's not
Okay.
like the only one frame input is the like up press to
I'm
turn around.
mixing that up with another trick, that the double clone trick in stage one of Ninja Gaiden 2, where you just have to press a button for a single frame.
Hmm.
This is different. So
Okay.
ignore what I said.
All right.
This one is a press like one direction for a single frame and immediately press the other direction.
Like on the next frame.
So yeah.
Okay.
So in some sense it's similar, but I think this is easier, harder, I don't know. But with like the Zelda one, you just have to like tap it and let go. Here it's like an incredibly fast wiggle. So it's like right left, like that, like as fast as you can.
Kind of sounds like
Um
a fast excel in Mario 1, just you can't buffer the first input.
okay, yeah, that might
Although
be.
there is
I
you do a frame of not holding a direction in between the maneuver over, but
okay, okay.
I guess that's the closest I can get to relating to it. This sounds much harder.
Yeah, I don't know. It's not like.
Or no, in Mario 1 we have like the falling fast excel where yeah, you tap left for one frame and immediately right. So it's like right and then left right.
Yeah,
So
something like that.
okay. I can relate it
I,
kind of.
yeah, I don't know how hard that is in SMB
I
one,
can't do
but
it.
okay. Um,
So take it that as you
it's
will.
pretty, yeah, it's pretty hard in this, and it ends up saving. It's either like 1 or 2 seconds, I can't remember. And so it really like stressed me out because I uh go back in the interview 10 seconds. I was just talking about how good I was feeling, like I just had this time I could stream and things were going well. I felt comfortable to get the goal. But now I have these tricks that I need to include.
Hmm.
Um and I didn't want, like, knowing that these tricks existed, I didn't want a record that didn't have them.
Mm-hmm.
Um just because like they're doable. I don't think they're like super duper hard. It's hard, but it's just a different like input than I'm used to. The ice one is like I said, super easy, but the waterfall one is not. And so, yeah, I was going for that, and I just runs kept failing to that. And I would get it in practice to consistency, and then I'd have another promising run get to that, and it would fail. And like I kept logs of this, of all of my like runs that had like decent paces past Act One or whatever, what my pace was, where it failed, why it failed, etc. And you can see around that time period, it's just like 4-2, 4-2, 4-2, like this long column of failures at this point because of that one trick. Um, and that's what happened that Christmas break. It was just me feeling like I could finish this into discovering this new tech, into runs failing at that point repeatedly. Um, the other thing is that is like right before Ashtar. So even if you do get that, it's like boom, you have to do the Ashtar quick kill like right after that. Um, and so there's these big like points of things get really hard, um, kind of late in the run, and they chain together. Uh, but yeah, that slowed things down for quite a bit. I didn't get the record until like 6 months after that, but it has those, and so yeah, I'm happy with that. The other thing around that time is I did get, actually I think this was like a little bit before I got the record, but I did get a PB that didn't have the Ashtar quick kill.
Hmm.
And so I was like super proud of that, because that was like a 957. And so with the kill, it would have been like a 953, um, which is what my time is now.
Mhm.
So, but that was kind of unheard of to even get like a sub 10 that doesn't have Ashtar. It's pretty cool.
Mhm. So we know the final time now, and that's
Hmm.
the record to this day.
Yeah.
So, and you streamed every day, literally, until then, right? Didn't miss a single one.
Yeah. From when I started, yeah, I didn't miss a single day. It was, I forget the final count, it was like 450 days or something.
That's over a
I,
year.
yeah, I did do a lot of off day stuff. And thankfully you can see Blecky in chat there if you're watching on Twitch. He he kept me company for a lot of that and a lot of this journey. I had a lot of regular watchers, and I think all of them. But Blecky would suggest games to play like on the weekend or whatever, where I would take a break and play something else. Um, there was one day where I cheated. I still streamed, but I cheated the stream one day out of the 450 because I was doing this work project, and there there was a deadline, like a hard deadline the next day. Um, Something I'd been working on with people for a while, and so the entire submission would have went to crap if it didn't finish. And something went horribly right at the last minute. Like I realized there was this huge mistake, and it was going to take like hours and hours and hours of fixing it. And so I realized this at around like 11 p.m.
Ah,
And I
great.
was like, crap, I have to start streaming. What am I going to do? So I ended up, I was thinking, okay, maybe I'll just stream my work. I don't know. Um, but I just started the stream, and the stream title was like, I don't remember, streaming work or something. And I streamed it for like 5 minutes, and I was like, dude, I gotta focus on this work. I have to do this. So then I stopped the stream. But that was the only time where I had like I won on a technicality type of thing. Otherwise, it was like an actual, I streamed some sort of content, that people would sit down and watch and have fun watching
Okay.
every
So
other day.
yeah, I had a misconception then. I thought it was like stream Ninja Gaiden every day, but no, it was just do a
No,
stream.
yeah, do a
Okay,
stream. Ninja Gaiden was probably 70 to 80% of that.
fair, but
Yeah,
not 100,
no,
which
but it was
for the best
it,
probably.
yeah, I think I think I would have gone insane. I was doing
Hmm.
that just for like my well-being.
Yeah.
Because the first like 2 or 3 months was just Ninja Gaiden 2, and I was like, no, this is I need to do something else. Um, but by keeping that like um constraint, like I have to stream something every day until I get this goal, that was good enough. Um, because if I'm streaming other stuff, then I'm not progressing toward Ninja Gaiden 2, which is like, elongating that goal is just delaying it, right? So,
Mhm.
um, who knows? Maybe I would have gotten it sooner if it was Ninja Gaiden 2 every day. But no, it was Ninja Gaiden 2 80% of days.
Okay. Well, it did finish at some point, so
Hmm.
that's good.
Yeah. Yeah. Hmm.
And that's where the record stands today. Thanks for watching.
That's where, yeah, we'll see what happens. There's improvement still.
Hmm.
There,
How much?
but it's getting to that point. Well, it's getting to that point of like, what are you willing to include for the risk that's involved?
I see.
Um, yeah, there's things that are like, they're really not consistent. Like I was saying before, there are some things that like Becco showed could be consistent, but these are things that are like, no, it's no. Um, and you're saving like less than a half a second for maybe like a 50% or higher chance of the run dying, probably even higher than that. And there's only a handful of them. Um, yeah, I don't know. It's pretty optimized at this point. I still got to make a better human theory task. Um, yeah, I'm not sure. I'm not sure what like the theoretical time would look like right now. It can be improved though.
No,
I'm not going to say it's dead.
made
It's
that
on
mistake
life
already.
support. Yeah, yeah. It's kind of like a cat where it has 9 lives. It's died a couple times now, um, but
Still
it's
got
not
quite a
really
few.
dead. Yeah, right.
Man.
Um, I, yeah, I was gonna say, I am planning on doing pacifist and low percent at some point. Um, I did actually get those 2 records after I got the like stream every day thing, and they were decent. They weren't super optimized. It was more like I just got them because I wanted to get them, but like I learned those routes. There's a runner, Zaylin, who actually like pushed those times down pretty well and are nice optimized runs. And he has a pretty good any percent time. He's like one of the only modern runners of this game right now. This game deserves a lot more love. Um, yeah, actually, Retro Runner, who's famous for Ninja Gaiden 1, has been running this game because he wants to get like a top 3 time.
Mhm.
He finally got a sub 10, I think. But he says that he likes this game a lot, and I forget if it was like he likes it more than Ninja Gaiden 1 or if
Oh,
it's just like certain aspects of it more. But he said that like it just doesn't pull in the viewers that Ninja Gaiden 1 does. And since he does this, streaming is part of his like supporting himself, he just can't like afford to stream it as much as Ninja Gaiden 1.
hmm.
Um, and so yeah, I mean, I don't know. People love Ninja Gaiden 1 more than 2, and I wish it was the other way around. Um, wish more people ran this game. But yeah, Zaylin is a runner who has a pretty good time, and yeah, I recommend giving him a follow. Zaelyn, Zaylin. Uh, you'll see some Ninja Gaiden 2 stuff, any percent, low percent, pacifist. But I want to push for those times eventually. Again, I think like if I hopped back into speedrunning, that would probably be like one of the first things that I did because those were fun runs, and his runs are very good. Um, but yeah, it's like I took what there was, improved it, and then he took what I did and like made it like more consistent, like simple, like fixed mistakes. But there's still mistakes and there's still optimizations because not many people are running those categories. So that would probably be my next thing to do.
I
And
know.
I would definitely, one thing, I would definitely come back to any percent if someone took my time. I'll say that right here. In fact, if someone did that, I might even do like a stream every day thing, like the next day, because
Oh
I'm
my.
pretty gung ho on keeping that.
Part
But
two.
part two,
Maybe someday.
somebody, the quest to beat Jimmy Poopins again,
That would be a banger.
the sequel.
Yeah, I was gonna ask what makes the other categories different.
Oh, they're okay. They're a lot different. So there's the two categories are low percent and then pacifist. Um, Low percent is a lot like any percent. It shares a lot of strategies, but you can't use any of the specials. And the big thing is that it just makes certain sections of the stage harder because a lot of times you rely on the specials to like clear out the screen, for example. So you need to find other ways to get through those screens where normally you would like clear everything out. It also the boss kills all change significantly, and that's kind of like it's neat. Um, it's also not neat because a lot of the precision in the boss kills has to do with that like quick canceling that I was telling you about, and it's a lot harder to do any sort of canceling with the sword only. Um, there are some ways, but yeah, it's more of like a barbarian running in and swinging his sword type of boss kill, whereas with the any percent, like it's really kind of finesse like, where you can kill the boss really quick if you have the right inputs. But as a result, you get some really creative and kind of cool boss fights in sword only. And pacifist is the same in terms of the boss fights because you don't have any sort of power ups. So the boss fights translate like exactly from pacifist to sword only. Pacifist is a lot different because you just can't kill anything during the run. In Ninja Gaiden 2, damage boosting moves you at the same speed as any percent. So like, or sorry, it moves you at the same speed whether you get hit or not. So like if you're walking right, um, or you're walking right and then you jump and get boosted to the right, like by an enemy, the end result is that you'll be at the same spot. It's not like you gain any speed by getting damage boosted, nor do you slow down. So pacifist uses that a lot because you get like a second or whatever of iframes every time you get hit. So it's kind of routing out your life, and how do you damage boost enough so that you don't die, but you're utilizing those iframes to get through spots where enemies would normally cause you problems. Any percent has that also. There's a lot of damage boosts, but it's just way more prominent in pacifist because it's like it's your only tool for getting through a lot of sections. Any percent or sword only, you can kill stuff, and here you can't kill anything.
Okay. I know. Yeah, Ninja Gaiden One has, I think, the same exact categories as well.
Yeah. Hmm.
I'm sure,
Yeah.
like the
Those
whole
are the
trilogy is very similar in many
yeah.
aspects. So.
Yeah, we in our board, our Discord, and like the moderator board, we try to keep things consistent because like a lot of people are into pacifist, for example, will run pacifist on like all three games. You'll see that. So we try to keep things matching as best we can.
Mm-hmm. And I know Ninja Gaiden One also has some damage lists.
Oh yeah,
Can you do
I
that too?
haven't. I think Zaylan did it. Is when Damageless had its like surge in popularity, I had already like kind of stopped streaming the game.
I see.
I don't know if there's like a category for it, but I would kind of be interested in that. I don't know, probably not. I think one of the cool things about Ninja Gaiden 2 is how you can damage boost strategically. So not doing that at first glance doesn't sound that fun to me. But who knows? Maybe it is. Maybe I'll try it sometime.
Infinite possibilities. Well, I guess we've talked fully about Ninja Gaiden 2, but surely there's some other games.
Um, yeah, well, I talked about like kind of toward the beginning, SteamWorld Dig, Super Meat Boy,
Mm-hmm.
Ninja Gaiden 1. Um, kind of in that period. Oh, I also ran Wizardry for the NES. I was the first like US runner to run that game. And I have a completely different route than like the Japanese runners came with and is popularized here. Um, I also played Rocky and Bullwinkle. That's a
Oh
fun
God,
game.
no, it's
Yeah.
not.
I commentated that for Author Blues at the one of the GDQs. That was good.
Awful block, I assume.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. um, what else? Oh, I ran Moon Crystal for a while. I actually ran that at a GDQ.
Hmm.
Moon Crystal is a not super well known Famicom only, so Japanese only platformer, kind of like Ninja Gaiden 2.
Hmm.
It looks really nice. It's one of like the later games that was made on the system. Has a really good soundtrack, except for one stage where White Hat and I, for a while, were trying to figure out if it was like a sound chip issue or if something was broken. But the stage, I don't know, it just sounds horrible. It's stage two. So if you get to stage two and you're playing it and you're like, man, the soundtrack is not good, just keep going because the other music's really good. But yeah, I ran that at GDQ. Um, I the other game that I played like a lot and pushed really hard was Lawnmower, which I talked about a little bit.
Mhm.
But Lawnmower, yeah, is a homebrew. Um, you're like a little lawnmower and you have to mow all the grass. And I was the only one who ran that game like seriously. There were a bunch of old school people who just did races of it because it was a fun game to race. But I like tried a little bit to route it out. And by the way, I'm like a math stats professor, and the routing in that game is an extremely complicated math problem. Like
Mm,
extremely complicated.
interesting.
I've worked with some like computer science people who are also really good in that, and they're like, oh yeah, you can just use this like certain algorithm to find the best path. And then one guy, Kurt Q, who is like a really popular caster and well-known programmer, sat down and tried to do it, and he was like, I ran this algorithm for 2 days on the first lawn, and it didn't even find the best like the route that I came up with. Um, and so like it seems easy on paper to route that game out, but like for whatever reason it's not. And there's these little subtle things in the game's coding that does that.
Mhm. I
Um,
know one of the main mechanics is obviously you run out of fuel and you have to collect more, but it spawns randomly.
yeah, so it spawns randomly. It spawns on tiles that are already mowed.
Mhm.
So one of the like real-time routing aspects of that game is mowing in such a way that you know you're going to backtrack along where you just mowed. So, for example, like if you mow to the right and then you mow back to the left, you know that the fuel is going to spawn on that right-hand side. So you don't want to mow like completely clear the right-hand side because if you do, then you're going to have to go over a bunch of empty tiles to get the fuel. So instead, you would route it so like you go right and then left, and then do some stuff on the left, and then automatically you're going to go right, and that you know the fuel is going to spawn there, and so you're not really missing any time. That's like kind of the key to routing in that game. But there's also a lot of little subtle things like if you go 4 squares and then turn, it's better than going 3 squares and then turning because of subpixel rounding and like all of this other like weird stuff like that. Um, there's also certain
Really getting into
tiles
the
that
weeds of this run.
yeah. Um,
Anyway.
there's also certain tiles that have higher frequency spawn rates on fuel, and we actually have spawn rate maps that show like the frequency of that. So certain tiles can't have fuel spawned on them at all. So you could technically route it out to like avoid all patches except for like one that you know it's going to spawn on, and then set up the route so that it's going to spawn there, and then you come back to it like right at the proper time. That's actually what my lawn 10 does right now. And it took me like 3 days of routing and playing with that to get it going. Um, and the game is really fun. Even if you're not trying to play it optimally, people just play it and get stuck playing it. Um, uh, what what's his name? Why can't I think of his name? I'll think of his name in a second. But I know Prissy like picked up this game for the Big 20 and was or he was just like helping people out or whatever and trying the games out, and he was like, I just don't want to stop playing this game. Like this is so much fun.
I've
And
messed
there's a
around
lot
a
of
little bit with it.
yeah,
I'll have to beat it
yeah.
on stream someday.
It's fun to just like play it, and then like you play it and you're like, oh man, I want to play it again. Um, it's doing like the real nitty gritty like technical routing and stuff is not for everyone. But yeah, you can have fun at all levels with that game. We used to have Lawn Movember every year because after like I said, I was the only one who was like running the game. There was this French group of people for like the Ultimate Decathlon, I think it's called, where this was a game featured in that, and they had to like push for PBs in this game. Um, so there was this funny like thing for a while when you looked at the lawnmower leaderboard. It was like 15 French people and then like me, and it was just like me in the top three because like a couple of them had beaten my time around that time. But I organized this event which was U.S. versus France, and we had like a relay race of 5 French runners versus 5 U.S. runners. And we kept that tradition going for quite a while.
I recall
It's
seeing
fizzled out
something
and
like
coming back.
this. I must
Yeah,
have
it was
caught one
on.
of them.
Yeah, it was on. I want. Was it on RGL? I don't think so, but it was on Speed Gaming at some point and
Okay.
Best of Ness. Yeah. But those are fun. It went horrible. The first one went horribly, by the way.
Oh, okay.
This relay races should go. Um, yeah, U.S. team ended up getting lapped. So
Oh no.
I did a solo run at the end. My run ended up being really good. I was the anchor, but it didn't matter because they had already finished before I had started. Um, but yeah, that's okay. Um, but yeah, there was one of the people who participated for the French team, Molly Man, who does a lot of stuff with like blind um, game stuff. He took the game like really competitively. So it was he and me that would push it, and it was fun because we were trading for a few years. So he played for the French team. He's French Canadian, but played for the French team. And so like I had the record, and then one November he takes the record back, and then the next November, Lawn Movember, by the way, he takes the record back, and I take it back. And so we did that exchange for like 5 years in a row, maybe. And the latest one that I did, I put the nail in the coffin like a little bit. Um, I think it would be cool if he could take it back. I kind of don't want him to because the game does feel like really dead unless it has a complete reroute. There are actually, I think, no mistakes in my run, or maybe like one or two tiles worth of mistakes. It was just
Jesus.
I had never had a run that was like this close to the intended like route basically ever.
Hmm.
I think every stage was within like the sum of best up to like a tenth of a second or something. It was quite, yeah, I mean, I'm not trying to brag. It's more like I was just astonished that this actually could happen. Um, but if you watch that lawnmower run, you'll see that it's like it doesn't seem like any mistakes are being made, and they really aren't. The other thing about the RNG and routing in that game is that if you keep the same route, you will actually get the same RNG. So
Oh.
theoretically, you could step route the game if you kept a perfect movement. And I think the movement was completely perfect up to like lawn 6 or 7 or something in that. So I actually knew exactly where the fuel was going to be
Hmm.
um, up to a certain point. But then it was like, wait, I've never gotten this far with a perfect route, so I don't know where the next one is. But it's fun. It's a fun game. It's fun to watch. I recommend checking out that run. And who knows, maybe this November we'll have more lawnmower stuff.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's an interesting one. Very
Mhm.
popular for
Popular for what it is,
yes, for
for
sure.
sure.
Well, it sounds like that's kind of everything you've tackled.
Yeah, I think so. Um, I'm sure there's like something I'm forgetting here or there, but that's the main thing. My two main things are Ninja Gaiden 2 and Lawnmower.
The big two.
The big two, yeah. The only two games that matter.
Of course, of course. Did you have any other like GDQ appearances we didn't go over?
Um, I've ran Ninja Gaiden at a few GDQs, and then I ran Moon Crystal at that one.
Mm-hmm.
I ran a few games at Californiathon.
Oh, California.
Um, yeah, Calithon. The first Calithon I ran Ninja Gaiden 2, Rocky and Bullwinkle, and Lawnmower.
Hmm.
The second one I ran Circus Charlie um, and Super Meat Boy, and those are fun. Circus Charlie is also a good run. I don't know if you played that game, but it's
I have not played much. Not
yeah,
much
it's good. You
variety
should.
anyway.
It's it's kind of like completely routed up to the fifth stage. It's basically an auto scroller if you play it right. Um, but it's cute. It's fun. And then the fifth stage is this like swinging trapeze of doom, where if you want to do like the super hard fast strat, it's just like impossible. Even doing it normally is like pretty hard. But yeah, it's a good game.
I see. Well, I know we talked about the salt video a little bit, but how was that whole experience? Because I mean, it's literally named after you.
Yeah. I mean, I was kind of wondering, like, I knew summoning salt before like the video. I forget our exact exchanges, but like we had talked a few times. And I actually noticed him like in my channel a couple of times as I was streaming. Like I usually don't check the viewer list, you know,
Mm-hmm.
lurkers can lurk, but there were a couple of times I checked. I forget why, maybe even on accident, but like I saw his name there, so I was like, okay, maybe. Um, yeah, and then he reached out to me at one point, and he was like, I really just want to make a video called the quest to beat Jimmy Poopins. And I was like, okay, yeah, sure, let's do it. Um, and so it was pretty good. I had kind of been anticipating it because I felt like this is probably deserving of it. I thought maybe it would just be like a Ninja Gaiden 2
Mm-hmm.
like history video, but yeah, it was
You
specifically
need the
about
funny
me.
title.
Yeah,
That's what gets
right.
the clicks.
Uh, I don't think anything would have changed really if the video, wasn't didn't have my name in it. But the it was pretty cool working with him. He just wanted to know like what kind of like a rundown and summary of stuff. He had a bunch of questions, as you'd kind of expect, wanted some detailed answers. So we did a lot of stuff over just like Discord messaging for a while. And I, had some details because it was fairly fresh in my mind.
Hmm.
And we had, I think, two like quick like voice sessions just to like, really exchange things quickly and rapidly. And he gave me the videos at various points to kind of check for accuracy and make sure that everything is going transparent. He does a really good job with that stuff, just making sure that he's not making anything up, which I really appreciate for someone who has as many views as he has to try to keep things accurate.
Hmm.
It's very nice. We didn't have very many things that needed to be changed. There was, I think the ending ended up changing once because the one that he had, I was like, let's do something different. And I think the ending now is like pretty well received. So yeah, that was good. Um, but yeah, I mean, it's kind of what you would expect. I think there's not like any real surprise there. Um, you just talk about it, a few like drafts that you go through, some adjustments, edits, asking about things, the next time around. He's a nice guy, very professional. He's very good to work with.
Hmm. So how was the like reception from your point of view?
I think it was good. Yeah, I shared it with like my family and stuff, and my dad like said he burst into tears watching it, and he watches it again, every now and again. Um, it's funny because at the time I was streaming like Street Fighter. I've been doing a lot of fighting games and card games and stuff recently. So when the video came out, I was streaming Street Fighter, and I looked at my followers list, and it was just like, so and so has followed, so and so has followed, and it was just like all of these follows you get, and I'm like sitting there playing Street Fighter, and I'm like just like sitting in training mode, like practicing stuff, and all these people come in, they're like, hey, I came from the video, and like blah blah blah, and asking me about all of this stuff, and I'm like, okay, I just want to play Street Fighter. um, but
Too bad
I
you're
don't think I
famous
kept.
now.
Yeah, I mean, basically, right? I actually had one guy come in to my chat yesterday. Um, I was streaming Monster Train 2, which I've been streaming a lot recently. And he was like, hey man, I know you probably get this a lot, but I came in from the Summoning Salt video. I wanted to say like it was really inspirational. Thanks. And it's like every like couple months you might have someone like that come in. I'm like, oh, okay, that's cool. Um,
It's
you
cool
also
people
have
get
like,
inspiration from
yeah, 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 I'm happy about that.
it. Never give
But the
up.
first, yeah, yeah, right. The first week was like kind of annoying, I guess, because you get a lot of the same questions and you get a lot of people that are just coming in and asking questions and like never coming back and it's just repeating it.
Yeah.
Um, I think if I was speedrunning, it'd be a different story
Hmm.
during those streams. But like, I mean, I don't blame them, right? If they watch the speedrunning video, they just want to know a couple things. Why stick around to watch this guy play Street Fighter? Um, but it was, yeah, that was kind of like, this is a little bit tiring after a while.
Hmm.
Um, but yeah, it was cool. I mean, even it being tiring, there was a lot of positive reception. A lot of people came in and loved the video. So yeah, I was happy about that.
That's cool. And then, I mean, have we pretty much covered everything?
Speedrunning wise, yeah, I think so.
Yeah, I'm pretty much like out of direct questions at this point.
Yeah, I mean, I think I kind of mentioned this before. Like, I'm not done with speedrunning. I haven't done it recently,
Hmm.
but when the calling, when the time is right or when the calling comes, like I'll be back. Um, I'm just envisioning myself like sleeping, and then immediately like my eyes open and I get up out of bed and I'm like, what happened? And like turns out the Ninja Gaiden record was beaten, and I'm like, oh, okay, I gotta get back to this.
Like you sensed
Um,
it.
I sensed it, right? There's like a disturbance in the force.
My ninja
Um,
senses are tingling.
yeah. I'm like that. I enjoy that competition. Um, it, I don't really want to own it. If people want to get it and have it, then great.
Hmm.
I'm saying that I'd probably want to take it back, but if they want to take it back a second time, then go for it. Like I'm all for that friendly rivalry.
Hmm.
Um, but yeah, I think it's something that I want to have and push for and keep. Otherwise, probably just the off categories if I do that. And I don't know, maybe I still have my NES hooked up here, so we'll see. But no real plans for the time being.
Yeah. So that's like just future plans
Yeah.
for the most part.
Maybe I'll do see if I can get sub 5 in 12 hours. Probably not.
Well, I mean, I'm always down for more people learning the game.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah. Oh, it's actually a funny story because Supersonic, right? The
oh yeah,
Mario Runner.
he was the
Yeah,
first
he
guest I ever had on the show, and this is like
oh,
124 or something. I don't even know anymore.
okay. He I met him at the very first Calithon
Yeah,
and
that was his first event. Yeah.
he knew nothing about speedrunning.
Hmm.
And it was like Fast at CC and me who like kind of just like got him interested and said like, yeah, you can do this, you like Super Mario, just learn Super Mario. And yeah, like a week later or whatever, he's streaming Super Mario, and look where he is now. He's like headlining GDQ or something.
Oh yeah, with Sonic,
um
but I mean,
yeah,
close.
yeah,
But
but yeah,
it's funny hearing this because I heard it from his perspective like 2 years ago on this
yeah.
very show. So it's just
That's
the full
funny.
circle.
Yeah, there we go. Who's next?
Yeah,
um,
but yeah, I mean, Supersonic and I had our kind of like a rivalry for
okay,
at least Warpless for a little bit. I know,
nice.
Cosmic, me and him were top three for a while. Things have since changed quite a bit, but
uh,
the good old days.
yeah, nice.
But yeah, I'm really excited. This comes out on YouTube on Sunday, so GDQ
Okay,
would start on this day if you're watching on YouTube, and he's opening. It's all
all right.
happening.
Yeah, there we go. Yeah,
Got it all.
I'll have
Got it
to
all.
check
Tie
that
it
out.
back in.
Yeah,
It's all connected.
yeah, hmm,
But yeah, I'm really looking forward to this event.
yeah.
A lot of good people,
That'll
a
be
lot of good
fun.
variety. So should be
Hmm,
fun.
hmm.
And if you're watching this as the YouTube video comes out, go watch GDQ. It's live right now for the
Yeah,
next week.
hmm, yeah.
But yeah, I think that's everything then. I mean, we haven't missed anything in your history, right?
No, I don't think so. Yeah, that's
Right.
it's my speedrunning history.
Good deal.
Yeah.
Well,
Hmm.
then I guess the last thing I'll ask is just for you to self promote however you would like to.
Yeah, I mean, I'm honestly not big on self promotion. um,
Fair.
I'm not huge on fame even. But if you want to follow me, you can follow me. I still have Twitter, even though I don't really use it. Blue Sky, if you want to contact me there. You can go to my stream. When I speedrun again, I will be speedrunning there. Right now, I'm playing Monster Train 2, and I'll probably stream that a lot. Um, but yeah, if you want to ask any questions about speedrunning or whatever, that's the best place, and I'm more than happy to answer. So yeah, you just follow on Twitch.
And I will have all the links. They're on stream and will be in the YouTube description.
Okay.
But yeah,
Sweet.
I guess that's everything then. So
Okay.
yeah, thanks
Well,
for
yeah.
coming on the show. Thanks
Yeah,
everyone
thanks
for
for-
watching.
Yeah, thanks for the interview. Thanks everyone for watching.
Yeah, appreciate it as always. And then yeah, if you
Mhm.
want to keep watching the show, just every Sunday on YouTube at least, and then usually every Sunday on stream, unless I have to go to GDQ,
Okay.
like today's Twitch stream. But
All right.
yeah, all right. Take care, everyone. See you next time.
Yeah. Hope to see you.
Bye.